Okay guys, welcome to another painting video. I hope everyone's well. And in this painting video we're going to be painting up the Argonaut from Stars of Akarios. It's one of the ships. This is my first time painting a ship a model, with the slight exception that I've painted the ships from Star Wars Rebellion, but not to a decent degree. I'm going to be using Citadel Contrast Paints for this paint through, and this is a video that I've sped up 4 times. So it's a 15-minute video that will basically go on, that would account for an hour. It took an hour to paint this particular miniature. I love the art style in, I'm going to start the video now. I love the art style in Stars of Akarios, this kind of comic book style that they've got. And what I've tried to do here is mimic that and replicate it. So it's obviously a lot of browns. So I've put my paints used up in the at the top of the screen. And we're going to start with Skeleton Horde, then move on to Agorist Dunes, then on to Snakebite Leather, moving on to Cygor Brown, and that's that's the browns that I use as they go to darker tones. Now here with the Skeleton Horde, I'm block colouring, if you like, the large parts of the ship, not being super careful here because ultimately all the other paints will go over this. Now, the contrast paints are great for going into those crevices and everything, and they're not great at large flat surfaces. Now, this ship's quite small, obviously, so you're not going to get any problems with pooling in this particular case. But it'll still, get into those nooks and crannies to give you a good contrast. I followed the art as best as I could, but it was actually really quite cool. I had the feeling like I was painting as in painting a picture. It really, like on an illustration, it really felt quite natural in this style. I really enjoyed it. So I followed the art mostly, but went off on my own kind of ideas and feelings, I guess, as I painted through. So with Skeleton Horde, it's a nice light tone brown, kind of yellow, obviously used on bones mostly, but it was perfect for the kind of yellow light tone that they had on the art. So moving on to the next one, which is Agorist Dunes. So Agorist Dunes is a slightly darker tone, really good for kind of like a tan. It's like a tan colour. And here I'm just being a little bit more careful now. And what you'll notice is the painting shapes I do are quite regular. There'll be like triangles, angular shapes, rectangles, following the panels slightly as well. Bit of edge painting. And it's to kind of mimic the what I did with the art, the reference art. Now, apologies for the fact that the ship goes below camera quite often. I realised that I should have had it angled slightly further down, but at least you can see the art on the card while I'm painting. So here you can see that we are moving on with like shading really, but hitting those regular blocks, regular shapes as blocks of colour, to make it really look like a kind of comic book style art, I guess. And it's not just using the models, so the sculpted features. So here, for example, I'm putting a few kind of regular shapes of shading, just to represent kind of different angles, I guess, is what you're doing. So you're kind of like falsifying these different angles. That's not sculpted. That triangle is not sculpted on the miniature. So feel free to kind of just go for it yourself. Just free reign. Just make sure you do those regular shaped patterns is what I recommend. And you use the reference art to your advantage. I think my best paintings tend to be, or models, when doing it this way, are ones where, so for example, like lions and tigers and stuff, where you can actually get real life reference art, and you can use that to kind of almost copy from and to transpose onto the miniatures. So that's my favourite form of painting. So we are now moving on to Snakebite Leather, the next darker tone of brown, and this is where you know, you'll start to see the ship really take its look. And whenever I paint with Citadel Contrast Paints, I really find that you get that really instant result as you go along, which is so satisfying. You don't have to wait until you've block painted all the base colors, then done all the washing, and then done all the highlight and layering to see the effects happen. It's pretty much instantaneous, and I love that about contrast paints. By the way, as per all my other paintings with contrasts, I've undercoated this miniature and all the Stars of Akarios miniatures with Wraithbone spray, and then from that so it's just a spray can. I think this gives such a great warm vivid color, which isn't too bright like you would do from a pure white undercoat, but isn't dull. And to be honest, I like that style better anyway. Solomon Kane, for example, it's quite a dark, grim world, and a lot of the reference art is very dark. However, I wanted it to be quite vibrant in terms of the colours. You know, a lot of browns in there and blacks and so forth. But the colours wanted to be quite vibrant, and I'm really, really pleased with the effects. Not for everyone, but for certain art styles, I think it works really well. The Wraithbone is such a great colour. It's not super cheap. You know, you're looking at 11, 12, 13 pound for a can. But you know, or spray, I would say for Stars of Akarios, you can spray every miniature in there with one can. But you know, now just for reference, I do not own speed paints, so I can't compare. I've invested into contrast, Citadel Contrast now, so that's what I use. By the way, I think I've just missed the whole of the Cygor Brown. Oh, no. So that was all the snakebite leather. Then we move on to Blood Angels Red. So this is to do all the red accents of the reference art, as you can see from above. And this is following the panels mostly. But again, a bit of free roam on some of the red accents that are on the reference art. Really nice, vivid red is Blood Angels Red. I do really like this colour. And you can really see that the ship is now taking shape as I move through. So there you go, just making up some, again, regular shapes with the paintbrush. Maybe some edge painting a little bit as well, which I certainly do on parts of it as well. As you can see here, just doing that kind of corner. That red really helps to bring the ship out. Now the Cygor Brown, which is the darkest of the browns I've got. And as you can see, we are doing a lot of line painting here, a lot of line painting with the Cygor Brown, as per the reference art as well. The window, going over the frame of the window. You know, I make a little bit of a mistake here, get a bit overzealous with the paint. But I will remedy that later on in the video. As you can see, I've used the same brush throughout, and it's a size 1 watercolour from Series 7. So it's quite a bit bigger compared to the miniature range that they do, most miniature paintbrushes. So it's a lot bigger than size 1 miniature paintbrushes. But it gives a really nice tip. I mean, it's not cheap. I think this was £10 for the brush. And I've got I needed some new brushes basically. So I've got some new brushes coming in. From Army Painter, I've got their white series, and I've got their regiment character and detail brush coming in the next couple of days, so that'll be good. But this is a great brush for kind of like painting in big parts, but as you can see, the point's pretty good. And don't worry about, I mean, I'm not trying to win competitions with this paint job. I want it to look good on the table. I want this tabletop standard. But I want it to reference the art. That was the main thing. So you see that I've got some slightly jaggery lines, but you're not going to see them when you're playing with the game. If you scrutinize it, sure. I'd rather it just look really good from a distance and continue to keep speed. There I went a bit too overzealous, so I used water as a kind of eraser to get rid of it. So do not use water to mix your contrast paints. The water kind of stops it activating and stops it doing its job. You need to use what's called contrast medium. It's a technical paint that you can buy from Citadel, which is kind of like this gel activating substance. Water is a great eraser for any mistakes you make. Quick as you can, get some water on your brush and then go over that area. It will soak, and then you can soak up that paint once it's got saturated, and you'll get rid of it from your miniature. I use that technique a lot. Moving on with the Cygor Brown, we're going underneath now, all the edges of the ship and the underside parts as well. Now, what I've done with future paint jobs of the Stars of Akarios ships is use the bases supplied to kind of put them on and use it as a stand, rather than holding it, because what I did notice with this is all the edges were kind of, the paint disappeared from them where I kept holding it. It wasn't a big problem because I just painted back over them. Here you can see I'm touching up the windows with just white. This is Corax white, just a normal base paint, but any white acrylic paint will do. And here I've got the Blood Angels red back again because I wanted to do the shading effect. So I'm doing a second coat on parts to show kind of shadows, I guess. To reference the reference art, to mimic the reference art. As you can see. Now it's not too noticeable, especially when it dries, but it just gives that idea of some slope. Now Snakebite Leather, to do the same on some of the browns, to extenuate some of the details, especially where, again, just all linked to the reference art. The reference art had lots of this as well. Okay, so about 2/3 of the way through the paint job. Again, just touching up everything. So I think this was the Cygor Brown. Just getting some more details onto that. And you'll notice that when you go through a miniature, you'll notice, oh, actually I need to touch up that bit. I need to touch up this. Now this is Ultramarines Blue. Again, a contrast paint that I decided to do the windows with. Apologies for the little things that keep coming up on the screen. So that was the paint through, done with that. And while that dried, I wasn't too happy with it. But while we're doing that, I thought, well, I just need to finish off a few other details. So just the Cygor Brown, apologies, it's not in view. But again, it's just getting some of those details on, getting some of those just small little paint details that break up the colours of the ship, break up parts of the ship. And again, just using the kind of reference art to help me along the way. Okay, we're going back with the red. I think there was just a little bit to touch up on that. And some bits to go with the Skeleton Horde. Okay, so here I'm looking at the reference art. I'm pretty happy with the ship overall, but not with the window. It's way too dark as a colour. Now, I could have maybe lightened it up, but I decided to go with just some normal acrylic base paints. So I've got a blue, just a Citadel blue, I don't even know which one it is. And some Citadel Corax white. I'm just going to blend them together on a palette to give us some different colours. So you can see here, it will mimic the reference art and the comic book style a lot better using these colours. Again, apologies, they're not quite on show. And then we're lightening it up and trying to follow those shapes of the reference art pretty much identically. There we go. Much better, but much more in fitting with what the reference art shows. And then we need to do the underside, obviously. Really chuffed with the top, which is what the reference art's. Now we're going to improvise on the bottom. So a bit of Agorist Dunes. I decided not to go for one of the lighter tones in Skeleton Horde because of the underside of the ship. And then basically painting the vast majority of it with this Agorist Dunes. There's quite a lot of detail on the underside, which is great for contrast paints because that will just fit into those nooks and crannies and give you a really good quality from that. Now moving on, we are, apologies, again, sorry it's not in view. So there you can see we've covered the entire bottom of the ship with this Agorist Dunes. The Citadel Brown was there already. It doesn't take a huge amount of time to dry as we are waiting along. And now it's Snakebite Leather to get, again, to break up the bottom side now. Not that you would ever see this really in the game, but just for completion's sake. Just deciding to put a few little shadows in, a few break up some of the patterns, as you can see with this Snakebite Leather. So this is Snakebite Leather, which is the darker tone from Argonaut. And really just going with feel, whatever I would feel like. And then we're going to go to Citadel Brown. Again, you can see some of the paint coming off from what I was, from where I was holding it. Again, it's not a problem. Now Citadel Brown, and again, just sometimes going around to the side. Again, a lot of line shading with the Citadel Brown. I'm pretty chuffed with this. Now I put it on the base. I perhaps should have done this right from the start. And again, we're just going around, I think, checking, making sure, the bits that I was holding, I was just going back over with the Citadel Brown, just to block those out. And then finally, we want a sheen on the windows. So Argonaut, which is effectively Citadel's gloss varnish, you put that over the windows, and that gives it a really good, nice kind of like a sheen, which looks like something shiny, like a window. Then it's just touch-ups from where I was holding it, again, just to make sure it's all fine. And then that is the finished product. Really, really pleased with that as a quick finish, as it were. And that was the... Now I'm just going to put it back. To here so you can see the paints used. So that was the Argonaut from Stars of Akarios using Citadel Contrast Paints. List of the paints is up on the video there. And it was a Wraithbone spray to prime the miniature to start with. I highly recommend using one of the supplied bases to use as a handle, so you're not constantly touching the paint that you've been putting on. But kind of go with it. Go with the free, especially if you want to do this kind of comic book style paint job. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you get some ideas if that's what you were after. There's going to be more videos that I'm going to be posting. Painting the other ships. I wanted to paint all the ships I needed to do I'm going to play it solo, the campaign itself. I probably won't do videos of the campaign because I want to avoid spoilers. If you get in this game, you want to play it from the get-go and not know what's going to go on. So I don't think I'm going to record any of that. However, I am planning on I did a PvP mode way back when it was first being play tested, and I want to flesh that out, see how it plays, and then maybe post that up and show a video on how that works as well. So please stay tuned for more painting videos on Stars of Akarios, bit of gameplay. I'm sure I'll show an example of one of the scenarios as I play through, just so you can see what these painted miniatures look like on the table and how the game plays. The space combat is absolute stellar, by the way. But really enjoyed painting these in this style. It was my first time painting comic book style with and ships, so really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.